Joining me now is the journalist Sue Reid. Sue, welcome to GB News. What are your reflections on how safe we are on our railways and whether we could be safer on our railways?
I don't think we're safe anywhere anymore, and that's the terrible thing. Ricky Gervais, who has to be the most one of the best celebrity comedians that we have, has just put out on X today a meme or a sort of joke, not really a joke, but it's saying, going to London, don't forget your stab vest. Well, he said that just before this alarming event happened. And I think he is right. I really do. We cannot pop out to the shops. We can't walk the dog. We can't get on a train. We can't get on the tube. We can't walk down London's main streets. And certainly not in central London, without feeling under threat. And that's not because we're imagining it or the British public are imagining it. It's because there's evidence, it's happened.
Well, I mean, all these things are subjective, aren't they, Sue? I mean, I do all of those things in London. I live in central London without feeling that I'm under threat. I've been so fortunate I haven't experienced crime that's affected me for some decades. But I suppose I'm not unique in that respect. I mean, we read of crime, we hear of crime. Clearly there is crime. But then I think we also have to ask ourselves, well, how often has it touched us? And we should ask that question not selfishly, but in order to get some kind of statistical idea of how common these things are and under how much of a threat we are. Our country will be paralysed if people are in fear and trembling when actually, statistically, they need not be.
Well, I really don't think that the statistics, as we know in this country now, are completely up the creek. I know that women in particular, and girls in particular, and many young men, boys, are very worried about walking down their streets. And I honestly do think it is a fear now. And that's not because they're imagining it, it's because of events that happened. I know this is not terror, but it's certainly about terrifying, isn't it? I mean, it isn't actually normal behaviour, is it? As we see on social media all the time, for people to walking around with knives and machetes. I mean, we're normalising it to say, well, it hasn't happened to me, so it can't have happened to anyone.
No, I certainly wasn't saying it hadn't happened to anyone. Of course, it's happened to these people last night, and it will have life-changing effects for people who are injured and for their families and so on. So I'm not saying that. Yeah. I'm just saying that, 1.5 billion rail journeys are made every year. Yes. And we haven't had an incident like this on a train in my memory. We had the terrorist incidents back in 2005. We had the Parsons Green attack after that on the London Underground. So I'm just asking for, a little statistical balance, that out of many billions of journeys that have been made, this is something which happens very, very rarely.
Well, I would say that it shouldn't happen at all, to be honest. And if you want a frank assessment, I don't think it would have happened 30 years ago. I think if it had happened 30 years ago, this story today, I'm putting a journalist hat on, would of course be getting attention, but it would get attention for weeks and months going forward.
Sue, 30 years ago, people were being blown up in pubs and on buses by the IRA.
Yeah. Oh, of course. We were, indeed.
So, I mean, there wasn't a golden age of non-violence 30 years ago.
No, there wasn't, but it's I feel that it's closer to home, to be honest. With the IRA, we understood what they were getting at, what their motive was, and we were able to tackle it. This is much more random, isn't it? It may take ages for the police to unravel what was in the minds of these 30-year-olds. And the problem is that it's not one element that you say, okay, that's the problem, well, let's try to solve that problem. This is sporadic. It's coming from, really, I think, from a society where, of course, these guys are in their 30s and they've been educated in the British schooling system, about which I'm passionate. But I bet you, without having anything, saying anything untoward and jeopardising any court case, that they
please don't do that. Please don't do that.
I don't worry. But we are dealing with many, many young people who have never heard the word no. And I know that sounds old-fashioned, but it's true. At home, it's chaos. At school, it's chaos. And that is part of the problem.
Thank you, Sue Reid. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And now, just before we go, let me remind you of the latest statement from the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. She said, after last night's horrific attack, my thoughts today are with the victims, their friends and family. My deepest thanks go to the British Transport Police, Cambridgeshire Fire and Rescue Service and the East of England Ambulance Service. They responded rapidly with the utmost professionalism and they saved lives. I would also like to pay tribute to the exceptional bravery of staff and passengers on the train. We now know this attack is not being treated as terrorism and that 2 British-born British nationals have been arrested. The investigation is ongoing. I'm receiving regular updates from the police. And the Transport Secretary, Heidi Alexander, made a statement. She said, my thoughts are with those who have been impacted by the shocking incident in Huntingdon last night, especially those still in hospital today. I'd like to pay enormous tribute to the staff and officers who responded and the public for their patience and cooperation. I'm receiving regular updates from the British Transport Police, who are leading the response to this awful incident, as well as LNER, the train company, and other organisations involved. Trains are now running in the area. However, Huntingdon station remains closed, with trains passing through. Passengers will see a high visibility presence of officers at stations and on trains throughout today, and they are there to reassure the public. And His Majesty the King said, my wife and I are truly appalled and shocked to hear the dreadful knife attack that took place on board a train in Cambridgeshire last night. Our deepest sympathy and thoughts are with those affected and their loved ones. We're particularly grateful to the emergency services.